This video is sponsored by Bootstrap Farmer. This year, the kitchen garden did very well. I'm very happy with the results that I got and that I keep on having. Even though we're at the beginning of September, I am still harvesting. I am still getting a bunch of vegetables and flowers because I do love to mix flowers and vegetables in this area. And I feel like every year, as far as my kitchen garden goes, there is always a struggle. There is always something that I keep on fighting. This year, my tomatoes were not that productive. And to be more specific, my beefsteak tomatoes, half of them just kind of died on me after one of my neighbors sprayed with weed killer on the right side of that vegetable garden. And well, it is what it is. Next year, I am planning to do something different as far as trellising the tomatoes and also the location for them, so that if that happens again, then they are somewhat protected from that. Nothing else really died. Nothing else was damaged, but my tomatoes definitely did not do well. But even though the beefsteak tomatoes, were not what I expected, my cherries on the other side, I mean, they did amazing. This whole area over here where I have my corten steel planters, I have 5 huge corten steel planters against the wall, and then I have one that is holding that Vashiva rose in the front. But I have 4 cherry tomatoes here, 4 sun sugar cherry tomatoes, and they have been producing like crazy. Every week I am over here just making sure that I harvest the sun sugars, because they will just drop if they get too ready. They will just drop, and next year these containers are going to be a jungle of volunteer tomatoes pretty much. But these sun sugars, I have mentioned before, are definitely my favorite. They're very sweet. If you don't like sweet cherry tomatoes, stay away. If you don't like cherry tomatoes, stay away from sun sugars. But if you do, you definitely gotta try them. They are a hybrid, so I cannot save seeds. Well, I cannot save seeds from these tomatoes, these cherry tomatoes, if I wanna get the same type of cherry. And I did get some volunteers that I'm going to show you here in a minute. I did get some, and they're definitely not the same. I got some red ones and I got some yellow ones, and the flavor is just, it's just a, you know, a boring regular tomato flavor. I'm gonna get some hate on that. There are plenty of cherry tomatoes here, plenty, but I am not going to harvest right now because this is not a harvest video. The cherry tomatoes obviously are loaded, and they are definitely taking over this whole section, which, I mean, I'm okay with it. It is what it is. At some point I just stopped taking care and pruning pretty much whatever needed pruning here. But I have dahlias, I have celosia, I have lots of herbs. Everything is just getting mixed here, and I just love this. It may look messy for some, for people that are used to, you know, growing in rows, growing in sections. This may be like a really bad or disorganized, chaotic garden, and that's okay. This garden is not for everybody, but this garden is perfect for myself. The celosia right here, I mean, oh, it breaks so easily, just like that. But celosia this year is definitely wild. It definitely, this plant right here, it definitely loves it here. If I have to guess, this plant will be close to 4 feet tall. And my gosh, I'm not complaining, but let me show you a few of these guys. These are a mix of celosia, and they're going to seed, so that's why you see those black spots, which honestly I think that I'm going to save a bunch of those. But look at that. Look at that beauty. I am loving this shape of celosia, and like this one is going to seed as well. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? So I am really going to concentrate on making sure that like this celosia gets nice and dry, so that I can collect seeds from a lot of these things. Right now is the perfect time to start thinking about tagging those plants, those flowers that you want to save seeds from. Look at that. I am not going to show you every single plant here, but as you can tell, things are definitely grown. Things are definitely growing in spaces where they're not supposed to be. I'm going to show you my path. This is the space in between the two raised beds over here. And at some point I just stopped walking through it because there is no way. I mean, I have dahlias, rudbeckias, herbs, basil, marigolds, even some zinnias all the way on the back. They're just completely blocking this path. And in past years, this would have been not okay with me. This would have been something that definitely I had to work on almost on a weekly basis, making sure to prune, making sure to grab some support so that the plants will not be just spreading everywhere. This year, I'm just going with the flow. It has been a very busy summer, and definitely after the kids started school back in July. Yes, we started school back in July here. Things just got super busy. So a few things had to be pushed towards the bottom of the priority list. One of the things that I find super interesting every year is how plants, they can get the same maintenance, they get the same watering, the same nutrients, the same amount of sunshine, how they can be so different in how they grow. These nasturtiums over here, they're looking lovely. And these nasturtiums over here are getting the same amount of everything, same maintenance, but these are definitely struggling, as you can tell. So things like that, you know, it's just one of those things that I take notes on my journals. It might be just a variety of nasturtium that, you know, is not the best for here. I do definitely want to make sure that this red mahogany nasturtium, if I remember correctly from Baker's Creek, this is definitely one that I'm going to keep on growing here because she does great. I'm glad that I tried growing this Malabar spinach. She is definitely wild. If you're thinking about growing Malabar spinach in your garden, know that she needs room. She probably needs as much room as growing loofah. And I mean, she looks great. Nothing seems to bother it. There's a few sections here and there where I see something taking a bite or two, but there is nothing here that is going to bother this Malabar spinach. It definitely is taking over the space where I have it here. I have a small obelisk trellis from Menards. I'm going to see if I have a picture of how it looked like that before, but you cannot see anything there. I have some celosias, I have some zinnias back there. You can't really tell. And one of the things I noticed, actually, this is what I'm looking at it now, is that it's crawling up with the tomatoes up there. Oh my goodness. A few people asked me what I thought about the flavor of this Malabar spinach. I gotta say I'm not a big fan of it. I think that if you use it in soups, if you cook it, you can definitely hide that texture that it has when it's raw, but it's definitely not for salads, at least not for me. Now this right here, this is one of my favorite things that I grew for the first time this year. This is Mexican sunflower. This one I believe is red torch. These guys were planted here in this raised bed after I harvested my garlic, so it was late in the season. I believe that the 3-4 week seedlings that I grew from seed were transplanted here towards the beginning of July. I didn't think they were going to have plenty of time to bloom and to just get big, but they are proving me wrong. I definitely have a few strings where I am helping some of the main stalks get attached to my arbor, to my trellis back there, because these guys are so heavy. And what I found is that the branches, even though they're sunflowers, the branches are very soft. They break so easily. So definitely keep it somewhere where it can grow. The seed packet said that this thing grows up to 5 feet. This thing is easily reaching the 8 feet tall. I mean, it's growing way past my arbor. I'm gonna show you. And I don't mind it. The flowers are so beautiful. Look at that. That is the most beautiful orange. It's not super wild, it's not too crazy, it's not too loud. And the petals are very velvet like. Look amazing. This right here is the path towards the back of the alley, towards the back of the garage. And my husband asked me to just clear this because I have tomatoes that are growing here, some beef tomatoes and some beefsteak tomatoes, and I have these guys here. These shishito peppers are also just like loving it here. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to come here and chop some of these branches just so that there is no fighting and there is no breaking intentionally this side of the path. Over here on the other side, I have lots of flowers. The marigolds this year are doing really well. I am really happy on how they're looking like. I have a bunch of straw flowers as well. Gosh, these are lovely colors. So I am going to be saving a bunch of seeds from this. Saving seeds is something that, you know, you just do. I do have a bunch of jalapenos, lots of nasturtiums here. And one of the things that I'm super excited, I can't wait to harvest this, but it's not time yet, is that ginger. I have lots of ginger in my raised beds this year because I want to see how they do, and they are looking really nice and healthy. I have them here and there throughout my raised beds. I don't have them all in one spot, but I'm very happy to see that, you know, the plants are not dying. I have them all over the place. I have them there. I have some over here. Lots of jalapenos. Jalapenos definitely perform really well for me this year. And another thing that is performing really well are my tomatillos. Look at all the tomatillos in that plant. I really need to come out here and just harvest a bunch of these guys, because when they get too ripe, I don't want to let them get too ripe here because other things can find them. Look at these two things. I don't know if you can tell the lines. They're just cracking. Tomatillos can crack as well if they get too much water. Look at that. So these guys are cracking, but these guys are perfect. Those are some beautiful tomatillos. I just need a few more of these. I got jalapenos, I got cilantro, and I got some garlic that I harvested back in late June. So we're set to go for a green salsa. So this bed right here is where I'm going to be working today. I am going to be planting a few cool loving plants like sugar snap peas, some lettuce. I am going to move a few things here, so hopefully they do well. I didn't anticipate cilantro was going to overseed here, and now I have a small jungle of cilantro. I mean, I am not mad about it, believe me. All of this cilantro is very welcome here. It's just, I had plans for this bed, but that's okay. These right here are the two sun sugar volunteers that came up on their own from last year, and I let a couple of plants be, and I have been trimming them, and they have definitely been just kind of spreading everywhere. I have orange tomatoes. I have another plant that is a more of a jello, more like the true sun sugar color, but they definitely do not have the same flavor. So I wanted to see if the volunteers did just as the mother plant, but they didn't, at least not in this case. So I am not going to be letting sun sugar volunteers come up in my garden, because while I do welcome the cherry tomatoes here, they're just not my favorite. We definitely have lots of tags, lots of weeds. This tomato plant just wants to come up here. You just need to go down this way, buddy. I have a lot more cilantro growing here, and I have some beets. I planted some beets. Just don't know how they're going to do with the cilantro taking over. I have some grass growing here. All right, this looks good. This is going to be hard to reach. I'm going to plant basically all the back of this bed with sugar snap peas, but I don't know how they're going to do. I started this sun sugar from seeds, and I think that I did show you in a video on how I did this. I basically just got some regular potting mix. I put the seeds in there, and they have been outside. These have not been outside. I don't have to do any hardening up or anything like that. They just have been outside. We did had a couple of weeks where it was like super hot, like 95 plus hot. So I put them on the shade where they're gonna get a lot of shade, but I didn't protect them any other way. So this is probably the growth of a month or so, and they look amazing. They look really nice, and I am very happy to see that they did well. I do this for sugar snap peas in the spring. I just start them indoors because they germinate a lot quicker and the germination is a lot better in my opinion, but this is just my experience. Most people prefer to just put the seeds in the ground and just wait, and that's fine too, but I prefer to give them a head start this way. Now, when it comes to sugar snap peas in the fall, I am not the best at it. I haven't really found my sweet spot for when to plant them. I know that people have better results doing this in the fall than doing them in the spring. For me, it's the opposite. For me, if I plant them in the spring about a month before my last frost date, which in central Indiana, I will be taking these guys out like this big about the beginning of March, middle of March, and they will do amazing. I will have great results, but fall is a little tricky for me, so I am going to try this. I have videos of when I do this, so I am going to keep them together like 3 or 4 inches. Each of these little things are going to be 3 or 4 inches, and hopefully I'm going to make like a double rows. The rows are going to be about 3 to 4 inches apart as well. Fingers crossed. Hopefully I can make another video on how these guys do. I am going to grab some regular fertilizer just because these guys have been getting lots of water from the rain from myself, so I am sure that everything has just been running off. So I am going to do this really quick. This is the size. I believe these are 3.5 inch containers. I love it because they come in 4. These are obviously from Bootstrap Farmer, and I am so happy that they are sponsoring this video because I will be using them even if they weren't. Look at this root. These guys were definitely ready. I have a weed growing here. Let me show you some of these roots. Gosh, these guys were definitely ready for me to get them. Look at that. Look at that beautiful thing. One of the cool things that I really like is that a lot of the pots that they use have this little like hole right here, and that's what you use for like pushing. Look how easy that is. Look at that. It's just beautiful. I started using Bootstrap Farmer containers and trays from the first year that I started seeds. And I recently had somebody ask me a question like, wow, they're expensive, right? They're an investment, but if you have never tried them before, you will be hooked from the first order that you make, because they are not like the flimsy things that you purchase at your, at your local hardware store. These things will last you for years. And honestly, I didn't buy all of these things, all of these pots and trays, all in the first year. I started my first year just with a couple of the 10 by 10 trays, and I love them so much that the following year I got some of their 10 by 20 trays and some of their smaller 6L plug things. Just like everything else in the garden that is worth getting, it just takes time. Obviously, if you have the budget, go for it. They even have this year, which I wish they would have come up with when I first started. They have these bundles, which are a combination of a couple of 10 by 20 trays, a couple of smaller containers, a couple of medium containers. That would have been so helpful to me, 5 years ago, but it is what it is. I definitely have plenty of their things in my garden, especially for starting seeds. But like I said, if you are thinking about getting some of their things, go for it. And you don't have to, buy them all at once. I am going to leave some links below in the video's description for the bundles, or if you're just starting out and you want to see what they're all about, definitely check those out. Definitely getting hot out here, and the mosquitoes are also out. I am going to spray myself. I am going to continue doing some things. This is a time of year where things are just, declining. I gotta make sure that I'm pruning a lot of the things. And it was nice taking you along to this beautiful, beautiful morning, cool morning here in Central Indiana. Thank you for being here, you guys. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, maybe today is the day. See you on the next time.